Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the Achiever in You. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, a 10-year report card on Pittsburgh schools, plus a new product that makes a game out of learning computer programming. But first, big challenges ahead for Pennsylvania's new governor and for its lawmakers. Tom Wolf takes office later this month, facing a whopping big deficit and without a lot of options to close it. In addition to a new Democratic governor, Pennsylvania has also elected a more Republican and presumably more conservative legislature. Representative Mike Turzai is back with us today. He's the brand new Speaker of the House. Welcome and congratulations.
Oh, Bill, thank you very much.
Yeah, I would think a lot of Pennsylvanians probably don't realize the significance of the office of Speaker of the House. It's one of the oldest elected offices in the country.
I think it's the oldest. It goes back to 1682. William Penn, got the charter in 1681, came over, months later set up a representative government. The office of Speaker of the Provincial Assembly was established then, and it has been continuous, really, up to and through today.
That's really cool. It's got to be. You got to feel cool just to have that position and have that honor. Huh?
No doubt, it's quite an honor that my colleagues were willing to bestow upon me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit though. With the honor comes great responsibility,
yes, no doubt,
and great challenges. And I mentioned it in the intro in talking about the new governor. I'm hearing it's close to a $2 billion deficit that faces the Pennsylvania you've got to deal with somehow.
Yeah. I have to say it's not as intimidating as some might think. When we took back the majority and Governor Corbett came into office, we had a $4.2 billion deficit in front of us. And that was really because for the 2 prior years under Governor Rendell, they were completely relying on federal stimulus.
There was a lot of stimulus money pouring into Pennsylvania,
that was gone.
Right? Yeah.
And we had a far tougher challenge back in 2011 than what we have in front of us today. And in addition, keep in mind that under Governor Rendell, spending went from $20 billion annually to $28 billion, a growth of some 50-some% when the rate of inflation was about 20%. And in addition, borrowing, the debt grew over 50% under those same 8 years, and some of it's coming to roost. So we are dealing still with some of the legacy issues from the Rendell administration, but much of it's been addressed. I honestly think that revenues are coming in better than people thought. Okay. Here in Pittsburgh, the unemployment rate is beneath 5%. The national average
4.8, I think, in October. Yeah.
The national average is 5.9%. Yeah. Pennsylvania overall is 5.1%. I think revenues, both in terms of income taxes and sales taxes, are going to come in better than predicted. And in addition, I still think that on the expenditure side, not dollars. We spend $10.5 billion in public education, the highest amounts ever on public education, K through 12 on a state level. But I think in the non-education expenditure, there's room for, I think, some reduction. And I think that if you did liquor privatization, you would have $1 billion in upfront revenue. Your revenues would increase annually because you'd have more sales within the state. Business taxes would be paid. And the real elephant in the room on the expenditure side is pensions.
And that's just scary.
That's it.
The run-up in pension costs for the state.
That's really it. And I understand that's true, too, for cities like Pittsburgh. I think both on a state level and a municipal level, we've got to move to defined contribution plans. And we have to you just have to stop the hemorrhaging, and you've got to move into the 21st century.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about liquor privatization, because I know you took a run at it last year, and I guess you got it through the House, and then it ultimately didn't happen. They've been talking about liquor privatization or modernization since I moved to Pennsylvania in 1979.
Yes.
So I guess you can't blame the voters for being somewhat skeptical that this is doable. Do you think it's finally doable?
You know, the reason I do, because we passed it. And we did full privatization in the House in March of 2013, at the beginning of last session. And it was wine and spirits, and it was wholesale and retail. It would have brought in $1 billion up front. It increased annual revenues, and we passed with 105 votes. I honestly think our vote total now would be bipartisan. I think it would exceed 120 votes. That's what my prediction would be. I'm still not sure about the state Senate.
Okay, big question.
And that's a big question. But we will run it. We will pass it with a fairly significant majority, and then it will really be in the hands of the Senate and the governor. And I think that's a signature item for us. I do think public pension reform, moving to defined contribution, is the other major agenda item that we need to move forward on. And I know Dennis Jablonski at the Allegheny Conference and others have also said, while you're at it, could you please do municipal pension reform as well? And I'm completely on board with that. I think we need to take a look at the entire pension system and its levels of liability and move us into the 21st century.
And do you think there's political potential to actually come to grips with that? Well, it almost has to be dealt with, though, because how do you solve the state's budget problems for the long run unless you come to grips with
Bill,
it?
Honestly, I think you're right on. You have to address it. People can hide. If you're not going to be able to deal with the long-term budgetary concerns if we don't make the change. It's really true. And I think Governor-elect Wolf, soon to be Governor Wolf,
he has seemed a little skeptical as to how critical this is.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. But, he ran a business. This is a smart gentleman. I think he's a very, no pun intended, I think he's a very business-like individual. I think he's going to recognize that it's an issue that has to be dealt with.
Yeah, only about a minute left, but I got to ask you about the new governor. So we've got this more Republican legislature,
yes,
and now instead of a GOP governor, we've got a Democratic governor. Could be a recipe for total gridlock and for do nothing. We've seen this happen in Washington, D.C.
I'm hopeful that that's not the case. Governor-elect Wolf has been nothing but gracious. He was at my swearing-in. I will certainly be at his inauguration. And look, he said, I'm hopeful that he's going to bring some of his common sense from running a business operation to the discussion. And we didn't lose a single seat. We gained 8 seats. We're at 119. But in addition, we have a lot of allies on the Democratic side that we work with, a lot of good friends. I think that there's a real spirit of bipartisanship that could be engendered here. And I think that if people have serious discussions, you can get serious solutions.
All right, Mike Turzai, Speaker of the House of Pennsylvania. Good luck, and thanks so much.
Well, Bill, thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to see you again. All right, well, next up, Digital Dream Labs, a local startup with a new product that makes a game out of learning how to program computers. Stay with us.